Hello, Flirties, and welcome to a brand new episode of Flirtation. Signing on here at Flirt Headquarters, a conversation I have coming for you today with Sabrina Bendory, all about the art of detachment, how to do it, why it matters, and how we can practice detachment in dating without becoming indifferent, right? A delicate balance. I know you came with questions, and we have got answers. Sabrina's new book, Detached, out now. It's fantastic, and we're going to get into all of this in just a moment. But first, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for being a part of these conversations, for taking in, listening to the podcast, maybe watching it now on YouTube, which you can do. I really, really appreciate you being here. Yes, all the videos are there. If you wanted to watch this mustache just talk and listen for about an hour, yeah, you could do that if you really, really wanted to. It's there. It's there for you. I just wanted to thank you all so much for being here, for supporting the show. It really means a lot to me, and I couldn't do any of this without you. All of this is indeed for you, and I just hope you, yes, are really enjoying the conversations and getting what you need from them. Please rate, review, subscribe to the show if you haven't already. If you have, thank you so much. If you haven't, now's a great time. Any way you can leave some support with a comment, a rating, a thumbs up, anything, I really appreciate it. And then share this episode or another favorite episode of the show you want to send someone to share some BFE, big flirt energy with, or maybe they need to hear this conversation on detachment, which is coming. It's coming right now. Coming up on this episode of Flirtations, we're diving into a concept that can truly transform the way you date. It's detachment. Not the kind where you shut down or stop caring, but the kind where you finally stop tying your worth to someone else or external circumstances. And joining us for this conversation is Sabrina Bendory, an author, dating and relationship expert, host of the You Will Be Okay podcast, and author of the powerful new book, Detached, How to Let Go, Heal, and Become Irresistible. Inside the episode, we'll explore what detachment really means and how to practice it in dating and relationships. We'll get into the differences between self-confidence, self-worth, and self-esteem, how to detach from the timing of things, ways to practice acceptance, the reasons why so many of us overattach in dating, and ultimately how we can become irresistible by being ourselves. So, if you've ever found yourself spiraling over what did that text mean, or felt like your entire worth depends on whether someone chooses you, this episode is for you. Let's do this, Flirties, and meet Sabrina.
I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm the flirt coach and a gay Libra. Everyone has an inner flirt.
Hey, Flirty.
Live, laugh, flirt.
Work the flirt.
Work the flirt. Delulu is the Salulu. Expert on the flirt.
Hey, Flirty. There's always another flirt.
Everyone has an inner flirt. Get out of your head and into the flirt.
Flirties, on the show today, we have Sabrina Bendory. Sabrina is a writer, dating and relationship expert, host of the You Will Be Okay podcast, and author of the new book, Detach, How to Let Go, Heal, and Become Irresistible, where Sabrina explores what detachment means, how to practice it in dating and relationships, and why it's one of the secrets to creating healthy love without losing yourself in the process. Here today to have a conversation with us about detachment. Hi, Sabrina, and welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me and for that incredible intro.
I appreciate you making the time to record for Flirtations. This is a real treat for me. I'm excited to have you on. I've been following you for a while on the socials, so this is fun.
Oh, amazing. Well, I'm so happy to be here.
Your new book, Detached, How to Let Go, Heal, and Become Irresistible. It's out. The Flirties can pick up their copy everywhere.
Yes.
How does it feel?
It feels amazing. Writing a book is such an undertaking. And this one was an especially, I guess I could say emotional one for me, because so many of my lessons were learned the hard way. Not just the hard way, the hardest way to possibly learn a lesson. And so, especially, when I was in my 20s, there wasn't social media. There wasn't a million relationship podcasts. Like, you kind of had nothing. You kind of had Sex and the City and Cosmo magazine, and you were just on your own out there trying to figure it out. And so in writing this book, I just kept thinking how different my life would have been if I knew all this sooner. And there is that, I don't know, sadness for that 20-something me, but there is that grateful. Obviously, things worked out pretty well for me. And the fact that I get to use those experiences and help women and men navigate the dating trenches it's a really rewarding feeling, but a book it's a ton of work. And so when you, after everything you put into it, seeing it in the flesh and putting it out there is very exciting.
Yeah, congratulations. And we're going to get into some of the nuances and chapters of the book today, all about detachment, what it is, what it isn't, maybe some misconceptions, how to practice it, why it matters. The Flirties, of course, came through with some great questions. Before we get into it, though, we're going to learn a little bit more about you as we were chatting before hitting record, doing this work and dating relationships for 16 years.
Yeah, it's been 16
years
now.
So how did you get started? Because I was with you. I was sneaking my mom's Cosmo. I was reading like Teen Vogue, taking the quizzes, right? Does he like me? Does he not? Right? So wild. But that's at one point, that's what we had.
That's all we had. All we had.
That's what we had. So what is part of your origin story?
So I think, look, I've always been interested in psychology and in people and understanding human behavior. And then when I started having relationships with men, my late teens and my early 20s, and it wasn't anything like I saw in the movies. I thought, a guy you meet and he likes you and you start dating, he's your boyfriend. I wasn't expecting like, oh no, he'll get my number and never call me again, or we'll sleep together and then he'll completely lose interest. So these things were happening. And I was just like, I wish someone could just explain to me why. Like I didn't understand. And there was so much hurt and confusion. And as an elder millennial, we didn't really have any resources. I can't even tell you how many times I rewatched that episode of Sex and the City where Barbara breaks up with Carrie on a Post-it.
Oh my God, the Post-it.
Right.
Yes.
Just because I'm like, oh, she feels, obviously I know she's fiction, but like, this is my pain right now.
Yes.
So anyway, I had always wanted to do that. And so in my mind, I thought, oh, maybe I'll get a job writing at Cosmo or Glamour. But that was basically impossible unless you had the right connections. Then in college, I had a serious relationship that was also seriously dysfunctional. And the end of that relationship, I went into a black hole. It was the darkest. And I feel like that's what it feels like after a breakup. You feel like you live in a black box of darkness and that is all there will ever be. And there is no way out of that. And I felt so alone in it. And I just had this, I'm like, I wish there was a resource. And part of me always wanted to create that. So in college, I double majored in English and psychology, and I always wanted to write about people. Fast forward a few years, I actually got back in touch with that ex-boyfriend who absolutely gutted me. And we ended up starting a website together. And that became a career because it didn't exist. There was no. So for a time, we were writing things like why guys don't text back, why he's pulling away. Wow. And if a woman Googled that, our articles would come up first because there was nobody else talking about it. There was just none of this. It was like Cosmo was like, 10 sex tips to drive him wild. It's like, and the tips were always ridiculous. So it's like, this isn't helping. I love you, Cosmo. You raised me. Like, no,
me as well, Cosmo. Shout out. I remember taking all like the perfume, like the cologne ads they would put on there and like putting them on my body, right? Like just walking around, like going to school, like, oh, I smell so good today.
Oh my gosh, I remember that, rubbing the paper all over. Oh, this is taking me back. So that's really where it began. At first, it was really him writing about the relationship stuff because what the hell did I know? I was a clueless 23-year-old. But I just started writing about my experiences. I wasn't coming from a place of expertise. I was coming from, I'm 23. I'm living in New York City. I am dating. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And like, these are the experiences I'm having. And there is something so healing in that because women just could connect to it and relate to it. And they felt seen and they felt less alone. And that's all anyone wants. We just want to feel like we're okay.
Absolutely.
That's in my podcast. You will be okay. And then in time, as I got older, I really dove into researching relationships, especially the angle that I took at the time was understanding men. I was like, if I can understand how men operate, then I'll always have the upper hand. And I thought that was the solution.
Okay.
Turns out it's not really the solution. It definitely helped me learn a lot and made dating feel more empowering for me. So in time, it transitioned to more of a place of writing from expertise. Like, wow, I really understand this and I understand dynamics. So yeah, I started when I was 23. And then through that time, I ended up getting married a high school ex-boyfriend. Actually, we actually just celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary yesterday.
Wow. Congratulations on that as well.
Thank you. I know, like what crazy. I can't believe I've been married for 10 years.
It's amazing.
And started eventually coaching women, writing. I've written a few books. This is actually, what is it? I mean, this is my third published, but I've written like 20 ebooks in total. So I've been writing about this. I've been researching this. My whole world has just been consumed with understanding psychology and human behavior. And in time, it really, instead of talking about why guys pull away, why they don't text back, it really turned more into self-worth, confidence, because I realized that was the real problem here. It wasn't that we don't understand why men act the way they do. It was that, why am I getting so attached to the wrong people? Why am I so reactive? And that brings us right to detachment, which is the antidote for all of that.
Yeah. Living out like the Carrie Bradshaw fantasy in your early 20s in many ways in New York City, writing about relationships.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Where was your TV show?
I mean, look, you know what? Like if only social media had existed, because my 23-year-old, that was a cool life. I mean, I was writing about relationships, but I was also working in fashion at the time. So I was that was the only writing job I could find, was writing for fashion blogs. They paid me in pennies, but like I was going to Fashion Week. I was like going to all these parties with like Lindsay Lohan and Nicole Richie and House of Gossip Girl. Oh, I had a fun life in my
oh my gosh.
Early
that sounds amazing. I want to come back to this early writing that you were doing at the start of your career, talking more about yourself and your experiences and what that was like, and also what it was like connecting with other women that were having similar experiences.
Yeah. My problem was a severe lack of self-worth probably due to many, many years of being like the ugly duckling. I had major ugly duckling syndrome for years and years, guys saying like, I was friends with all the pretty girls, but I was like considered the fat one and the unattractive one. I was always just the friend that was there supporting them and giving them advice. So that's why I guess really where it started for me.
Okay.
And so I internalized this idea that you're only valuable if men want you, or if people tell you that you're desirable, because for so many years I was made to feel like nothing. And I really internalized the belief that if you're skinny and you're pretty, everything will work out for you. And so as I got older, I lost weight and I did come into myself. I realized, no, it's a lot more than that, because I was so needy. The way I describe myself is I was a reptile. Reptiles can't generate heat from within. They need external sources of heat. I was on this constant quest of like, and I talk about this in the book, tell me I'm pretty, tell me I'm desirable, tell me I'm going to be okay. So with guys, like at first, I was always great at reeling them in, and I could be a little detached seeming because I wasn't actually detached, but your real self is always going to come out eventually. And I read the book Why Men Love Bitches, and I'm like, I want to be that. So I could kind of do it performatively, but it's only going to take you so far. Eventually your real self is going to come out. And I was just too attached to other people's opinions of me and how men responded to me. It was beyond just relationships. It was even in my job. I was always I just had no self-worth. That's it. That's the only way to put it. And so when I was having these experiences and when other women were relating to it, there was just this feeling of like, oh, it's not that I'm defective or broken. Dating is really hard. And and so many people are having this shared experience. But to be honest with you, it took me a while to pinpoint what the problem was with me.
Okay.
Again, back then, how old are you, by the way?
I am going to be 40 in just a few weeks.
Okay, so
yes.
Oh my God, it's so exciting. Big birthday. I am 40, so we're the exact same age. But yeah, nobody was talking even about attachment styles. I had learned a lot about attachment theory because I was a psychology major, but that was more in terms of like little kids and their caregivers. No one was talking about trauma. We knew about the big trauma. We knew about, like the horrible things, but we didn't really talk about the little t traumas. We weren't talking about self-worth. We weren't talking about any of this. So that's why it was kind of like I was navigating this road and just kind of trying to figure it out, trying to figure out what it was, why I was getting so anxious when a guy I barely knew, who I went on a few dates with, was taking too long to text me back. Like on the one hand, I know I'm a great girl. I know I have a lot going for me, but why is my stomach in knots? Why do I feel sick to my stomach? Because this guy is not texting me back. So it was like through my writing and through kind of helping other women along the way, I slowly started to uncover all of these things and realize what was really at the heart of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, some of those little t traumas, right? The comments, right? Those comments that can stick with us from people we date, maybe in relationships with our friends, could be our family. Like, I think sometimes we overlook the power of comments as well. So I want to learn more about this process of maybe self-discovery, kind of what that was like, almost going through this publicly through your writing, connecting with other women, but you mentioned self-worth a few times, and it's going to come up again and again in the conversations. We talk about detachment, because I know the flirties and the daters are hearing, right? Choose yourself, love yourself. And yes, but it's also a yes, and sometimes I still feel lonely. Yes, and sometimes I still do want to be in the relationship if I'm single, right? So how we can just be with that experience of maybe choosing ourselves, what that looked like for you.
Okay. Oh my gosh. There's so much to this answer, but I'm just not making this podcast 5 hours long. I'm going to tell you when it all really culminated for me. It was, and I just like want to say, like you mentioned doing this publicly. I'm so glad that I did it at the time that I did, because even to this day, when I tell stories from my past and the way that I behaved with guys, like either on TikTok or Instagram, and this is a long time ago. Like I am a married woman of a decade now with 4 kids, but I'll get comments like, she's such a pick me. Oh my gosh. Like who acts like that? I'm like, I'm talking about, yes, that girl, that 24-year-old. Yeah, she was such a pick me. But people are so mean. If I had to deal with that kind of judgment, I was fine. They're judging a former version of myself. So that's one thing. But yeah, doing it in the way, at least with my audience at the time, there was so much compassion and just like relating to what it was I was going through. And at least, look, one thing about me is that even though I was a mess, I could give phenomenal advice. I mean, my friend group from that time, all of them always say, Sabrina, none of us would be married if it wasn't for you. Because I was the one really helping them and guiding them and like just telling, I mean, honestly, it is so true that I don't think that any of that immediate friend group, because I was phenomenal giving advice. So I was like very strong in that area. Could I take it? No, I needed a version of me for me. They didn't have that.
Right.
So for me, what it really looked like, it was, I call it the summer of me. I was 29 years old. And so like I have 4 children and I always wanted a lot of children. And that was always the number. And so as I was nearing the end of my 20s, I was constantly doing that math in my head of like, well, first I need to meet the guy. Then we need to date for a while. Then we want to be married for a little while. And then if I want 4 kids and like time is not on my side here, I don't want to bang them out like one after the other. So like the calculations and the numbers and that number 35 is like looming like a dark cloud over my head.
Yeah.
And this is actually the prologue of the book. The prologue is when I really hit that breaking point. So what happened was, first there was this guy I call Kevin the Damage Case. He was a guy I went on 2 dates with. He didn't even ghost me. He politely ended it with me. He even called me on the phone because we had mutual friends. And he was like, I just don't see this working out. You know, you're a great girl. We're probably going to see each other around. Don't want things to be awkward. I was devastated and I just couldn't let it go. I made it my mission to change his mind and get him to want me. I knew I'd be seeing him. We lived 2 blocks away from each other in the city. Anytime I knew he would be somewhere, I would dress really hot. And then we kind of entered this like, not even a situationship, like whatever the step below situationship is. Yeah. And I was just trying to be chosen and trying to be good enough, which doesn't work. Ravaged my self-esteem. Finally, that came to its inevitable conclusion. Right after that, I had been messaging with this guy who lived in LA. And I'm building castles in the freaking clouds over someone I don't even know. He abruptly ended it with me. And then I was like, I am done. Yeah. I have had enough of myself. I cannot behave like this anymore. This isn't cute. This is not cute. Like, this was maybe fine. It was adorable when I was 22. This is not cute for a 29-year-old woman. Like, get it together. And that was that moment where I had to, that really did feel like a rock bottom because I was so ashamed. I wasn't mad at the guys. They were fine. I was mad at myself. I was mad at myself for selling myself out and for just degrading myself just to try to be chosen. So I decided it was going to be opposite day in my life. I decided whatever my instincts are, I'm going to start doing the opposite. That's really where it started. So normally in the past, anytime I would get upset or devastated by a guy, I would either try to go out and get a lot of male attention and like dress really, slutty and get attention. Okay, remind me that I'm hot, that I'm going to be okay, right? Or go out with my friends and party or find some new guy to flirt with or like always things from the external. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Fine, I have that. Or I would like binge or I would say, I need to get really skinny and lose weight. All these stupid things that like we do to like numb ourselves and maybe temporarily feel better, but it doesn't fix anything. It just makes everything worse. You're just running from your feelings. You're not facing them. So instead I was like, I'm gonna sit with this and it doesn't feel good, but I'm going to actually process my emotions. Instead of going to the club, I'm going to go to a yoga class. I'm going to do deep breathing. Instead of binging, I'm going to go have a green juice. I'm going to nourish my body. I'm going to treat myself like I'm somebody that values myself. And there was a disconnect because I wasn't there yet. I didn't actually value myself yet, but I started behaving like I did. And then once you start feeling like good, because you're like, oh, I'm overriding my instincts here. I'm overriding my self-destructive tendencies and I'm choosing better. Then I started to feel a little more peace and a little more calm. Then I noticed that my writing was better. I noticed I was more insightful. And I decided to take a whole break from dating for the summer. And I just became a much more present friend. And I was really appreciating my friendships. And I decided to book a trip to Italy with a friend because I'm like, I'm not waiting for a guy to go on this romantic trip. I want to go. I'm going to go. And I really fully embraced being single. And yeah, of course, I didn't give up the dream of having 4 children and getting married. That was there. But instead of feeling sad about it and instead of feeling so frustrated that like it hadn't happened yet, I was like, I'm going to live in the now and love my life exactly as it is. And that was, I mean, if I could travel back in time to a point in my life, it would be that one. I just felt so good. And I really, like, this is so cheesy. It wasn't that I started to love myself. I started to like myself. I was like, I'm a cool chick. Like, I'm a lot of fun, you know? And then I was like, my life is amazing. And if a guy is going to come in, he better be so worth it because I am not going to risk any disruption of how wonderful things are. And just so happened by the end of that summer, first of all these guys who had been like not that interested in me, all of a sudden were dying to date me. It was raining men.
Isn't that what always happens, Sabrina?
And then my husband, who's actually my ex-boyfriend from high school, for years, we weaved in and out of each other's lives. He had never had a desire to date me again. All of a sudden, he was like dying to date me. Our first date was 7 hours long. By date 3, he knew he wanted to marry me.
Okay.
And that was that. And 6 months later, we got engaged. 6 months after that, we got married. And here we are 10 years later.
Wow. All right. We're going to talk about some of the different aspects of detachment here. A lot came up in that share because I can relate a lot to your experience as well. It's like you almost have that rock bottom moment, but that moment where you just decide to start living differently, decide to start acting differently, decide to not go back to a lot of the same coping mechanisms or the same practices that you had been doing. And it's really uncomfortable because we like familiarity. Our nervous system craves what is familiar, even if what is familiar isn't best for us. It may have been best for us at one time.
Yes.
But the only constant in life is change, right? So how are we going to embrace and just create that change? And then a part of this process of detachment is, yes, choosing yourself, but detaching from that, right? Always looking to be picked, always looking to be chosen. Cause I was definitely more of the anxious attacher as well, right? They're like, what are you doing? Right? You busy this weekend? You want to hang out? They haven't texted me back in 2 hours. Hey, I was just thinking about you. I know. Yeah. I used to do it all. I get a little bit cringe thinking back, but which honestly wasn't that long ago for me. But
I was disorganized attachment. I was either anxious or avoidant, and I just felt so defective. And it was just a severe lack of self-worth underlying all of it. And an extreme attachment to outcomes. And it was certain people that would light up my nervous system. Like it was either the guys that were completely emotionally available, I was completely turned off by them. The guys that were not interested in me, I mean, again, probably dating back to my traumatic upbringing of like the guys that I liked always, being horrible to me. Anytime a guy was indifferent towards me, I was like, okay, I need to win him over. It's our subconscious way of trying to heal those old wounds. Yeah. If you don't do it in a healthy way, then your subconscious is going to pull you to do it in an unhealthy way.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do we start to detach from that wanting or that craving to be chosen, all the while knowing that at some point, right, in a relationship, we will consciously choose one another. So like we don't absolve ourselves of that choice altogether, yet detaching from that being the goal, our reason why is really important, but I want to hear your perspective.
Right. So detachment is really about detaching from outcomes, not detaching from people, because we don't want to detach from people. That's emotional avoidance, and that's not healthy. And I also lived in that space for a very long time. Detachment really means you take control over what is under your control. And there is so much under our control. It doesn't always feel like it. You can control you can, in large part, control your happiness. And that is a decision, and it's a choice. And it is a choice that is comprised of a multitude of choices we make throughout the day. You have the choice to either be devastated that you're still single, or to embrace, okay, I'm still single for now. I'm going to do everything in my power to maximize my chances of finding someone. I am going to make the conscious choice to bring joy into my life right now. That does not mean that we deny the reality. And this is true of anything, not just relationships. If you hate your body, it is not productive to sit around and think about how much you hate your body. It is more productive to have your goal in mind, to accept the way you look right now. Doesn't mean that you want to look like that forever. Have your goal, work towards it. But in the meantime, embrace, this is where I'm at. This is so too with finances. Maybe you're not where you want to be financially. Again, you can doom scroll on Instagram and look at all the influencers going on their European vacations and feel like, oh, I want that. I want that. I want to buy that. It's going to make for a very miserable life. Or you can say, I embrace where I'm at right now. I don't like it. I don't want it. But I'm going to find the joy and the meaning in what my circumstances are now. I have my vision of where I want to go, and I'm going to go there. That is the heart of detachment. Detachment is being able to regulate yourself and know that no matter what happens, I will be okay. I've got my own back. I'm not looking for anyone or anything to save me or to validate me. And that's what detachment comes down to. Did I answer the question? I don't even remember the original question.
Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about this choosing of the self versus like this notion of being chosen in dating. We've been talking about self-love and self-worth and just how we can make different choices, showing up for ourselves differently, how to practice detachment. And I want to get into, I love that you mentioned just a moment ago, what I feel like one of the maybe misconceptions is about detachment is that we're not detaching from people, we're detaching from the outcome, the result, the kind of like the carrot that's dangling out in front of us, like metaphorically. And so something I feel like that can happen is in this process of detachment, we almost become indifferent. We do have that emotional avoidance. And so I want to hear a little bit about that experience and just how we can start to build self-awareness around that.
So emotional avoidance and anxiety, like what you described in your experiences with dating, they're really two sides of the same coin. And it really just comes down to fear. It's fear. I'm afraid. And so these attachment styles, what they really are is an attempt to feel safe again. You're sending those texts thinking about you, what are you doing this weekend? Because all you want is a text back saying, yeah, let's do something. Let's meet up. Because then you'll feel safe again. Then you're going to you'll feel secure. The emotionally avoidant person who's like, I don't care. I'm the black cat, right? Like that's the technology now. No, you're not the black cat because you do care. And you are so afraid of being hurt that you have to completely dissociate from your own feelings. So what detachment really is confidence. And what is confidence? Confidence is, so most people don't realize that self-esteem, confidence, and self-worth are three different things. A lot of people use them interchangeably. Confidence is trusting yourself. It is, I trust myself. That means I know that I will be okay no matter what. If I go on a date and he ghosts me or he doesn't want to see me again, I will be okay. Self-esteem is how you judge yourself. And this is why self-esteem is so much of our self-esteem fluctuates based on how people respond to us. Because if you get a lot of fire emojis that day, you're feeling pretty good. You get a lot of compliments, you're feeling pretty good. Now, self-esteem can become toxic when we are outsourcing it too much. Instead, we want to be able to judge ourselves favorably and without relying on everybody else. Self-worth is the belief that I am worthy just because I am. It has nothing to do with my accomplishments, with what I do. I am worthy of love because I am. And this is how we all come into the world. As a mother of four, I see it. I see when a baby comes into the world, my baby was just sick. Well, he's almost like a toddler now. I can't give up calling my baby. He's 1.5 and he was sick and he was just arms out like, hug me, love me, take care of me. There's no part of him that's like, am I a burden? Am I asking too much? Like, they expect love. They demand love. And with children, as they get a little bit older and as maybe their emotional needs aren't being met in the way that they need, they start internalizing this belief that, oh, I'm only worthy when I behave this way. I'm only worthy when I'm the people pleaser. I'm only worthy when I score the goal in sports. I'm only worthy when I act like this. And then you adopt that becomes a part of you. And then that's where low self-worth develops. And this is where, it can vary depending on your parents and your upbringing. But we develop the self-worth, we're born with it. Confidence is a skill. Confidence is something that you can develop. Self-worth, we're born with it. And then it gets lost along the way. And then we need to rediscover it. And we need to rediscover that I am worthy just because I am, just because I exist.
Wow, this is really helpful. I don't think I've ever heard explained before the difference, like the trifecta, right, of loving yourself. This confidence, esteem, and worth really are different things. But I find this really empowering because we can come at it in so many different ways, like knowing we can still, maybe we're lacking confidence, but our esteem and worth, right, intact. Or maybe like our esteem is low one day, but we can rely on our confidence and self-worth. So like, it's great that we can pull from all these different aspects of ourselves. And this is why, like, in your story, taking the trip to Italy, right? Doing the yoga class, doing like the green juice, like making these conscious choices because they're going to fill these different aspects of like confidence, esteem, and worth.
Yeah. And when you hit that trifecta and you nail all three, and I do talk about this in the book, you're unstoppable. That is it. You are golden. And fine, there might be fluctuations, but really, here's the biggest thing of all, right? Okay. There is a difference between an epiphany and a breakthrough. An epiphany is, I'm sure many people listening right now maybe have had a few epiphanies like, I need to start doing that. Epiphany is this moment of clarity when you realize like, okay, this is what I need to be doing. This is what I need to focus on. A breakthrough is when you're pulled, when you're in that moment where you can take the familiar path. You can go do the same thing that you've been doing and you choose different. When you override your instincts. For me, for example, I mean, being miserable was a baseline for me for a very long time. And this is why this is tied very closely to self-sabotage. And this book is a lot about self-sabotage because people with low self-worth, your self-worth is your ceiling. You will only be as happy as you think that you are deserving of being. My baseline was always misery for so long. And for me, anytime there would be a setback or something would go wrong, I would just default to that because it felt so natural. It felt like home. It felt like, oh, I'm returning home. And there is always a comfort in that. But instead, when something happened and I had to be there for myself and pick myself up and talk to myself in the way that maybe I needed a parent to talk to me when I failed the test or when things didn't go how I wanted. When you start being there for yourself, and it's going to feel weird at first. It's not going to feel normal.
Yeah, it is.
It's going to feel weird. But just do it anyway. Like if you want the change, you want the breakthrough, you have to do things differently. And there is a fear in that because, the famous quote, Brianna Wiest, actually is part of the same publisher as me, like her, she, and this circulates constantly on social media. Your new life is going to cost you your old one. And sometimes there is a fear in that because when you start choosing different, I was in a lot of ways attached to my hot mess identity. She was such a part of me for so long. I always knew what to expect with her. This new version of me, this like one that had self-respect and talked to myself nicely, that was uncomfortable and it felt a little bit fraudulent at times. But I kept going with it because if things are going to be different, then things need to be different. And they're not going to be different until you start doing things differently.
This is so hard because I think we still like, this is a practice, right? It's something that you're not going to be perfect at. It's a practice. Some days you're going to be great at it. Some days you're going to be okay at it. It's like, it's not looking at things in extremes or absolutes that, I was great today, I failed this other day. It's about detaching overall from that result, the outcome, and making a lot of this just a lifestyle, a practice, a habit. And so I think one of the questions the Flirties might be thinking about is this: how do I detach from like the timing of things? I feel like, look, I've put in the work. I've been choosing myself. I've been distancing, detaching from my old life to create this new life, this new sense of self. And I feel like what I want, when I'm manifesting, it should happen by now. How do we detach from the timing piece of things?
First, I want to acknowledge that anyone who's going through that, I know how hard it is. And I know that it can feel dismissive sometimes to hear advice in this area, especially when you're struggling. And I know when I've been through hard times and someone will say, oh, just trust. And you want to throw something across the room. So I get that. I get that. And I have a bunch of very good friends who got married at 38 and had their first babies at 40. Now, if you had told them when they were in their 20s, like you're not going to get married till 38 and have a baby at 40, they would have been distraught. And you know what? That's how it worked out. And they're so happy and it all makes sense now. You have to trust that eventually the dots are always going to connect. And right now you're just in the middle of the story. This isn't the end of the story. A lot of the time we feel like it's the end of the story. We feel like, well, I'm single and I've been single for a while, or all I've had are these terrible toxic relationships. So this is all that's ever going to be. Like we write the ending when we're not even close to the ending. I'll get messages from women being like, I'm 35, I give up. It's over for me. Like, what? You're a baby. Like, what are you saying?
Yeah.
Again, there's a choice. And there's a choice. And I'm not saying it's an easy choice. There's a choice to either despair, to be angry at God, or if you believe in a higher power, or if you believe in the universe, or whatever it is, whatever forces, karma, whatever it is that you believe is conspiring against you, there's a choice to live in the misery. And I get it because I've lived in the misery. No one knows misery like me. So if you need someone to be miserable, like I get it. I'll cry with you. I know that it's so hard.
Yeah.
Or there's a choice to detach and to surrender. I know that I'm not saying it's easy, but wouldn't that just make for a better life if you can say, I trust, and I'm going to keep putting in energy into the right places, because there is no more miserable place to be than the waiting room. Waiting. I'm waiting to lose the weight. I'm waiting to meet the guy. I'm waiting for the job. I'm waiting for the money. I'm waiting until I hit this amount of social media followers. It is you are powerless. You are absolutely helpless when you live in that space. And we can't look, fine, I'm married with kids. I checked that off. But we were talking about this earlier before we started recording, but I had to rebuild my career in my late 30s. My successful career collapsed to the ground. And I was distraught. This wasn't how it was supposed to work out for me. I wasn't supposed to be starting from zero, like at this age, with like another baby on the way. That wasn't supposed to happen. And there was a point in time where I felt really sorry for myself, but that wasn't helping me. It wasn't. It was just making everything worse. And so if you can just lean into wherever you are right now, that's the best thing that you can do for yourself. And then do all the other stuff. Put yourself out there, be on the apps, but don't only rely on the apps. Get out. Like people always ask me, how do I find someone outside of the apps? I'm like, walk out the front door, like anywhere you can go, not the bar. You can try the bar. Many people have found love in the bars.
Yeah.
Go to anything, a book club, volunteering, go for a walk, go to the dog park, get out there, out into the world. You do that and just trust. Then you have the trust comes in that it most likely will happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is, I
hope no one drew anything with that answer.
It's helpful for me. Like, I feel like so many of us are in the waiting rooms of our lives in some ways, with the career, with the relationship, with whatever. And you feel like you're putting in the work. And I'm curious, like where you, like some of the, like how you've just learned about detachment, and just like through your coaching and through your writing and just through all of your experience. Like I feel like I really came into learning about detachment through yoga. I'm a yoga teacher. And so one of my favorite books is the Bhagavad Gita, which is this like epic, right? Before there was Game of Thrones, there was this, right? And we talk about all kinds of things, detachment, the meaning of life, our purpose, our why, so much stuff. And then when it comes to detachment, it's about making the best choice you can in the moment for you, not because it's going to lead to success, not because it's going to lead to failure, not because of the result, the outcome, being unattached to that, but just doing what's right for the sake of, because it feels right.
Yeah. And prioritizing yourself and
prioritizing yourself,
what it's all about.
Yeah.
In terms of how I learned about detachment, I guess my first introduction was Why Men Love Bitches. I was very inspired by that book, and I was also very inspired by Kristen Cavallari in Laguna Beach. If you want a masterclass on detachment, go watch Laguna Beach season 1 and 2 and Kristen Cavallari, because she just had this attitude of like, if you want to be here, great. If you want to leave, that's okay. I know I can get another guy. Like, and I was Lauren. I was sulking in the corner, looking at the guy that I wanted, and he was with the other girl. And how can I get him to choose me? So that's where it started. But it took over a decade to realize but how? Like you can do this in a performative way. Fine. A guy texts and I'm going to set a timer on my phone for 5 hours and then I'll text him back and I'm just going to try to like distract myself and like not think about it, even though it's all that I'm thinking about. So it seems to him like, oh, she's a busy girl. She has a lot going on, when really you're just playing games and it's not authentic. It didn't really, the term detachment didn't really hit me as like, oh, this is what it's all about, until like a year ago, right before I wrote the book. I was like, oh, that's what this is. Okay, so the origin of the book is this. So I have an 8-week course and I'm incapable of writing outlines. Anytime I try to write an outline for a course, I just start writing and it like just keeps coming out of me. 300 pages of notes. And so, the course, I recorded the course. I did it all when I was like pregnant with my last baby. So I was like really trying to like get it out there. And the changes were so significant and immense. And these women were like feeling so good about themselves. And I'm like, you know what? I should take these 350 pages and just make it into a book. I spoke to my publisher. So I published my last book with, here, you can see it over there. You're
overthinking it.
And, I had already had a book deal, but I didn't know exactly. No. I think I had already had the deal, but I didn't know like what the angle would be. I was like, let's just turn this into a book. And they were like, it's good, but like, this is like a book. It's too much for just like one book because it's good as a course. So I'm like, what is the angle? So then I came back with like another outline of like mindset shifts, like the worst mindset, something like that. And it still wasn't strong enough. Then I came back again with, it was more of like a cheeky, like, I don't even remember what that angle was, but that also wasn't good. Then one day I was teaching a live class for this course. And it was supposed to be, I don't even remember what the topic of the day was, but all of a sudden it hits me. Maybe I had seen a TikTok or something. I'm like, I want to talk about detachment today. And so I'm teaching the class. And as I'm teaching, I'm like, oh my God, this is the book. This is it.
This is it.
Because this encompasses everything we are doing in the 8-week course. And this is the answer to basically every question I'm getting. So as soon as that class was done, I wrote out an outline super quickly. I sent it to my publisher. They responded right away. They're like, do it. This is it. They're like, we actually just had a meeting on that word today. So like, it was so meant to be. And then, I just I just went with it and I cranked that book out so fast. I mean, so much of it was like already written, just my notes. And I was like, this is it. This is what it was. I didn't have the right word to just like sum it all up.
Yeah.
People always ask me, they're like, how did you change? Why did your husband decide to date you after not wanting you for so long? And I always had a roundabout answer, but then I realized I detached. That's what it was.
Detached.
I stopped being so attached to every single outcome, and I could just be present, and I could just, I could be there, and I could care, and I could love, but I wasn't losing myself anymore.
Losing yourself. Yeah. And the Flirties can now pick up both books. You're overthinking it. And your newest, Detach. Before we say our goodbyes, I'm going to squeeze in a couple more questions because I wanted to touch on this aspect of detachment, which I personally find really confusing, where we've been talking a lot about that we don't want to be emotionally detached. We don't necessarily want to be unfeeling or have that emotional avoidance. But how can we be present with our feelings, our emotions, our experiences, and yet be mentally detached, right? So instead of thinking, what are they doing, right? Oh, they didn't text me back for 2 hours this time. Oh, they said they were busy, but we're getting together on Monday or Tuesday. Like, so we're just like caught up. Maybe we're in limerence, we're in fantasy land. We can't stop thinking about the person. How can we start to just mentally detach?
Okay, so I'll give you a few tips and I'll get really granular with an example of how I did it with my husband. First is, you want to recognize when you're spiraling. And then instead of putting all that effort into the other person, you want to pour it into yourself. So if you find, look, I incorporate this in my own life. I don't know if I'm sure you are as the same way, just because our careers are so tied to social media and how are people responding to my posts. Sometimes I'll find myself slipping into the, why did this only get this amount of likes? And why did this? And why? And how does? And are people responding to this? Because look, there's a lot online. Again, it's our career. So when I find I'm getting a little too much in the phone and too caught up in the likes and the comments, I detach. Even if that means for a few days, I have to schedule my posts and only allow myself 10 minutes just to respond to a few comments. And then I say to myself, what can I do that's going to make me feel really good and put me back in touch with my essence? Maybe I'm going to spend time with my baby or my kids. Maybe I'm going to spend time doing some creative writing. I would love to write a fiction book next. We'll see if we get there. Writing always makes me feel like I was put here to do this thing. Maybe I can just go out and take a walk and just breathe in nature. Whatever it is, instead of outsourcing, instead of how is the world responding to me, it is how am I going to self-source and feel really good. So in dating, when you are spiraling, when you're thinking about the guy, you have to shift to yourself. You need to ask yourself, okay, what is the feeling that I'm hoping this person will give me? And it's normally a sense of peace and safety and security. So in that moment, you can put your hand on your heart and say, I am okay. I was okay before this person came along, this guy, this girl, whatever it is. And I will be okay if it doesn't work out. And there's nothing to worry about here. So I'll paint the picture with how I did it with my husband. Like I said, I married my ex-boyfriend from high school who I was crazy about. And I was devastated when he broke up with me. I mean, that was my that really was the beginning of this for me. I was so heartbroken. And every few years we would run into each other and I would feel like there's something here. And I would get my hopes up and it wouldn't go anywhere. So you can imagine that 11 years later, when this guy asks me out again, I mean, I'm like, and after I had those two experiences I told you about earlier with Kevin, the damage case, and the LA guy, it's like, I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to do this again. I'm just going to take this for what it is. So the way that I remained detached is that even though it kind of started off pretty heavy with us, he was not my boyfriend until he was my boyfriend. And I kept all other options open. There were a few other guys that I was talking to. And when I found myself really spiraling, like, oh yeah, there was one day like early on, I don't know, like I didn't hear from him the whole day and we'd been texting a lot. And I was like, oh my God, it's happening again. I was like, First of all, I'll be okay if it doesn't work out with him. Will survive. Like I will be fine. But I also really allowed myself to envision all possible ways my life could go. So at that point in time, here were my options. Option A, ex-boyfriend. Oh, I would love for that to happen. What a story, right? Option B, there was this guy that like my mom dug out from who knows where. Like she was she's panicking. She's calling her friends. Do you know any guys for my daughter? She did dig up one that was good. It was a good prospect. I mean, he was successful. He lived 2 blocks away from me. So him and I were like trying to coordinate a time for a date, but his career was really demanding. So it like hadn't happened. We're like, okay, maybe, my mom struck gold and it's this guy. There's this other guy who lived in South Carolina. I met him on a dating site, but he also knew my brother. So we'd been talking on the phone for a while. We hadn't met. And I was like, maybe I'll end up with this guy or maybe I'll be single for a while longer. And that is not a punishment. I actually love my life right now. I'll be fine doing this for a while longer. And I was so okay. Like those were all the choices really. And obviously I had a preference. I had, I knew what I wanted the most, but I was really okay with anything. That is detachment. That's detachment. That was not like, oh, this better work out or I will never forgive myself. I'm going to rip myself apart for being like a loser who messes up every single good thing that comes into my life. Instead, it was, I'm going to be present. I'm not going to have any expectations here of anything. And it was, the relationship was able to just flow. Like when you're in that space, there's just a flow. Otherwise, when you're in the other space, which is the anxious space, you're not present. You're not connecting with the person in front of you because you're engaging with the worried thoughts in your own mind. You're wondering like, he looks a little bored. Is he losing interest in me? Oh, I need to think of something really interesting to say. Oh my God, there's an awkward silence. He's going to think that I'm dull. So I need to like overcorrect. When you're doing that, you're not connecting. You're just bringing so much anxiety and tension into the situation. And it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good for you. It doesn't feel good for the other person. So that's what it looks like.
Yeah, this is really, really good. And we're going to end here as we've been talking about, of course, your book, Detached, How to Let Go. We've been there, talked about it. I feel we've talked about healing. Yeah. But then the other part here in your title, to become irresistible. Yeah. And so I think that example really was highlighting that piece of this, of that being present, the not overthinking, being hypercritical of yourself, the self-judgment, like that loathing kind of feeling or experience we may have. And so as we end here talking about how to be that attractor, right? How to be in that just kind of energy and just be like, be irresistible by just being you.
Yes. Yeah. That's all it takes. And I've noticed this in my career, and I wonder if you have as well. You notice that when you're in a really great place internally, you're getting more DMs, more people are like, how can I work with you? Your episodes are hitting, as opposed to like sometimes even you can slap on a smile and have a perky voice. But like if you're suffering inside, people feel it.
They know. It's an energy thing. They just know. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And it's not even with romantic relationships. I noticed at that period of time where I was really detached, everyone wanted to be my friend. And like all these career opportunities were opening up. And anybody, if you look back on your life, I want you to think back to a period of time where you were really just at your height of happiness and feeling good about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You'll notice that the whole world responds to you so much differently. And where a lot of people get this wrong is that, so there's an inner world and an outer world. And learning about this, I did this course called Mind Powers like 100 years ago. I talk about it in the book. A lot of us think when the outer world changes, the inner world will change. Like once I get the boyfriend, once I get the praise, once people are telling me that I'm great, then I'll feel good. My anxiety will go away. My depression will go away. Everything will be. But what we don't realize is that since these worlds are connected, if you fix the inner world, if you decide, even if things suck around you, but you decide I'm going to choose happiness anyway, then things start to change around you. So it goes both ways. Obviously, look, we're not robots here. When things happen good on the outside, you're going to feel good about it. But we can also control that inner space. And that is where our power lies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really, really helpful. I'm just glancing down at the clock. Somehow this conversation has flown by. It's almost been a full hour, but I want to send all the Flirties your way to get the book Detach, to check out your website, your socials. I know you've got lots of amazing offers and courses. So where can the Flirties find you, follow you, and learn more?
Yes, Flirties, come aboard. I'm at Sabrina Bendory on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. My podcast is You Will Be Okay. You can go to sabrinabendory.com for more about my book, my coaching, my offerings, and all the things.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sabrina, for being on the show today and sharing so much about detachment with myself and with Flirties. I loved having you on.
I loved being here. This was so fun. I have to have you on my podcast next. So
yes, anytime. You just let me know. The Flirt Coach will be there.
Absolutely. Amazing.
All right, Flirties, that's a wrap on this episode of Flirtations, the detachment episode of the program with Sabrina Bendory. Sabrina, thank you so much for being on the show today. Y'all, her new book, Detached, is out. Wherever you find books, you can buy it, you can hold it, you can read it on your screens, you can listen to it. Yes, all the things. It's there for you if you want to go deeper into the art of detachment. Check out the book. Come back to any part of this conversation that you really enjoyed, and or follow Sabrina as well. Some links below in the show notes for this episode. Thank you, Sabrina, for being on the show today. Thank you, Flirties, for listening, for tuning in, for streaming, or perhaps for watching wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you got some fun, new insights and takeaways from this conversation today all about detachment. Yes, please rate, review, subscribe to the show. Leave me a rating, a comment, anything. I really appreciate it. And then share this episode or another favorite episode of Flirtations with someone that may need to hear any of the messages about detachment, dating, all of it. Yes, share it with them. It really, really helps me to grow the show and keep creating amazing episodes like this one. All right, signing off officially here at Flirt Headquarters. My name is Benjamin. I'm the Flirt Coach and Gay Libra Flirty. Happy flirting.